Hello, you're on the Legends of the Old West channel, and today I'm going to tell you an amazing story of survival and hope. If you like atmospheric dramas with live characters and real emotions, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell not to miss new videos. Now let's dive into the cold world of northern Wyoming, December 1876. Rachel Caulfield found herself alone on the edge of the continent. Alone, except for her son, Jamie, who couldn't even cry from the cold. She cuddled him closer. Her fingers are numb. The snow on her lips melts like salt on a wound.
"Be patient, my good man."
She whispers, almost inaudibly.
"Be patient."
The snow is falling in a wall. The sky is like stone. In this world, there is only a woman, a baby, and winter. No time, no road, no light. Rachel Caulfield stood at the small window of her modest cabin in the Fort Laramie outpost and watched the first large snowflakes fall to the ground. The wind crept through the cracks in the boards, and the cold chilled her to the bone. The house was filled with the subtle smell of herbs and soot from the stove, all the things her husband, Dr. Sam, had left behind. Her hands trembled, clutching the handkerchief in which the baby, 6-month-old Jamie, was wrapped. He slept, coughing occasionally, as if something was lodged in his chest. Rachel knew it wasn't just a cold. Her husband's cough had been bouncing around in her mind until the last. Sam died 3 weeks ago. The pneumonia that came with the winter cold took him, despite all his skill and care. She had lost him, husband, friend, protector. And now she had to survive alone in this harsh land, with a child in her arms and a past that dragged her down. Sighing, Rachel put the baby in the cradle and walked slowly through the house. Her eyes lingered on the chair where Sam usually sat after a long day at work, and she barely held back tears.
"I have to leave, Jamie. There's too much memory here, too much pain."
The decision didn't come easily. She knew her sister in Denver would be able to help. There was a city, people, medical care. But the journey there was long, cold, and dangerous. The next day, they started packing. Rachel took only the bare necessities: some flour, dried meat, a couple of bottles of water, and warm clothes. The old horse that had once belonged to her husband stood in the yard, not so strong, but ready to go. As she packed the last of her things, Jamie coughed quietly, and it was heartbreaking.
"Shh, baby, mommy's with you. It's going to be okay."
The wagon creaked as they left the outpost. The snow had already begun to fall, lightly at first, then thicker and thicker. The first day's journey had been relatively easy, but it was getting colder by the hour. The paths disappeared under a layer of snow, and Rachel lost her way more and more often, looking for arrows and her husband's landmarks so she wouldn't get lost. At night, by the fire, she held the baby against her chest, listening to its infrequent sighs. The cold chilled her to the bone, and she knew that if she didn't find help, the baby might not survive. On the third day, the weather became really fierce. The sky was covered with dark clouds, and the wind began to howl. The snow was falling so thickly that it seemed as if nature itself was trying to stop them. During another attempt to drive through the woods, the wagon cracked. The axle broke.
"No, not now."
She climbed out of the wagon, her feet almost falling through the snow. Her fingers were numb, her body trembled, but the child needed warmth, needed care. She tried to fix the axle, though she knew it was useless. Sitting on the ground, covered with furs and skins, Rachel realized that she could go no further. The frost at night would be fatal. Fear grew in her heart, but she did not let it overwhelm her.
"We're going to stay here. You and me. We'll make it."
Every day her body grew weaker, but the mother in her was stronger than any cold. She made a shelter from the remains of the wagon, covered her son with skins, and tried to keep warm with prayers and songs she sang to herself. The wind muttered outside the walls, the snow howled, but there was hope in Rachel's heart, and for that she was willing to fight. The white blizzard shrouded the forest more and more tightly. For 3 days and 3 nights, Rachel and little Jamie sat in the shelter she had made of broken boards and skins, like a last fortress in this icy world. Outside the windows was an impenetrable snowstorm. Inside was the dim light of a flickering fire, and the baby's breath warmed by her body. Rachel felt the cold become her essential companion. Her toes went numb, her skin turned white, and began to tighten with frostbite. She tried to warm them up, but the wind kept punching through, and the shelter cracked under the onslaught of the elements. Her hands were shaking, her body exhausted, but she knew the baby had to survive. Jamie, wrapped in several layers of warm cloth, coughed, and the sound tore at his mother's heart. Every breath he took was a struggle against the icy grip of the disease. Rachel held the baby against her chest, warming him with her breath, trying to put all her strength and love into him.
Hush, my little one.
She whispered.
It's going to be okay. Mommy's here.
Periodically, she sang the lullaby that Sam, her husband, always hummed before bedtime.
Sleep, my angel. Sleep, sleep. Do not be afraid. Through blizzard and storms, you will find your way.
Her voice trembled, sometimes broken by fatigue and tears, but these words were her anchor, her link to the past and the future. The nights became interminably long. Sleep, if it came, was intermittent and filled with nightmares. In cold visions, she saw Sam walking through the snow with his hand outstretched.
Rachel,
Came his voice, gentle and warm.
come with me. I'll show you the way home.
She tried to get up and follow him, but her legs wouldn't obey, as if they were stuck in the snow. Her husband's voice grew quieter and quieter, dissolving into the vast whiteness. She woke up with pain in her heart, clutching the baby, feeling its fragility and warmth.
You're not alone, Jamie.
She said quietly.
Mom will fight for you. For us.
Sam's old gun lay in the corner, a cold and silent witness to her struggle. Sometimes my gaze fell on it involuntarily.
If it gets really bad,
Rachel whispered to herself.
I'll do it for you.
But in the back of my mind there was a faint but persistent spark of hope. Hope for salvation, for a return to life. The days stretched slowly, and every moment was drenched in fear and despair. The food ran out, her stomach rumbled, but she wouldn't give up. Instead of food, only memories of the past, of home, of Sam. She often remembered him sitting by the hearth, telling her stories of faraway places, of those who struggled to live in those harsh lands.
You're strong, Rachel,
He once said.
like your father. You'll get through this.
The words were like a mantra in her head now, giving her the strength to live and fight on. At times, Rachel closed her eyes and prayed, asking the higher powers to keep the baby alive.
God, let him see the light. Let him not go away.
She whispered.
I can't bear to be without him.
One night, the wind picked up so strong that the shelter nearly collapsed. Rachel clutched the baby tighter to her, her body warming him, protecting him from the icy inferno. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but there was no self-pity in them, only determination and love. So for 3 days, 3 agonizing, sleepless days, their ordeal went on. And at that very moment, when it seems that their strength is running out, she heard a faint rustle behind the curtain, a call of hope. Rachel pulled Jamie tighter against her. Her hands could hardly feel her fingers anymore, but she didn't let go of the baby for a second.
Hush, my angel. Mommy's here. I'm not leaving you.
She closed her eyes, and suddenly the image of her husband, Sam, with his blue eyes full of care and warmth, came to her mind.
Rachel, come with me. Don't be afraid.
She shuddered, opened her eyes, and looked around. No one. Only a blizzard was swirling behind the hides of the shelter.
I can't leave you alone.
She tensed, her heart beating faster. It felt like someone was calling her, or maybe it was a play of imagination caused by hunger and fatigue. Rachel slowly placed the gun next to her. The cold metal felt like a heavy weight.
No. As long as we're alive, I'll fight.
The wind picks up, snowflakes slapping against her skin. Jamie's hoarse coughing can be heard. Rachel strokes her son's head affectionately, trying to hide the shiver in her voice.
You're stronger than me, baby. We'll get through this, I promise.
The days passed, and an unquenchable hope grew in Rachel's heart. Even in this snowy hollow, even when her body was barely listening, Rachel sat curled up, cradling Jamie against her chest. His breathing was faint, but still steady. She whispered the words of the prayer over and over again, not so much to God, but to herself.
Save him. If not me, then him.
The snow was piling up behind the thin skins she had made to shield the wind. The shelter shook with every gust, as if it didn't believe it would hold until morning. Rachel tensed. Her heart raced.
Who's there?
Silence. Then, the hide at the entrance slowly moved away. A man stepped inside. He was tall, wearing a heavy wolfskin coat with a deep hood. Snow dripped from his face, and his hands were in worn gloves. He said nothing. Rachel cradled the baby sharply, fumbled for the handle of the gun under the blanket. The man noticed, but didn't move. Slowly, he walked toward the fire, his hands reaching out to the faint flame. His face was stern, harsh but not evil. A few old scars crossed his cheekbones and forehead. His eyes were dark as ash. He took something out of the sack and put it beside him, a piece of dried meat and a flask. He said nothing. Then he went out as silently as he had come in. The next day, he returned. Rachel didn't reach for the gun this time. She just watched. She had no strength left to be afraid. He sat down across from her by the fire.
Who are you?
Someone who was once too late.
She looked at him, not understanding.
What does that mean?
He looked silently at the fire, then at the child.
There are times when you can't save.
He fell silent.
But you're here.
Maybe I have a chance now.
There's a fragile but real silent trust between them.
Thank you.
He didn't say anything back. The snow crunched underfoot like brittle glass. The sun was just beginning to turn the treetops a pale pink when Elias looked at the remains of the wagon. The wheels were splintered, the planks cracked, the metal parts covered in frost, as if winter itself had tried to erase the traces of their past life. He said nothing. He just nodded to himself and began to assemble a sled from the wreckage. Rachel watched silently, holding Jamie to her chest. His breathing was barely audible, but he was alive. She kept her gaze on the man whose rough, weathered hands worked steadily despite the bitter cold. The sled was clumsy, a rough construction of planks tied together with leather straps. But it held. Elias covered the child with a blanket, fastened the sled with the rope around his shoulders, and pulled it forward into the white void. The first hours of the journey passed in silence. Only heavy breathing and the muffled clinking of metal. Somewhere in the depths of the forest, a branch crunched.
Did you hear that?
Yes.
A howl came from the darkness, drawn out, hungry, almost human. The wolves' eyes gleamed between the trees. The pack darted out of the woods like shadows, gliding behind them, keeping to their flanks.
Let's go faster.
The snow beneath their feet grew deeper, the going almost non-existent. And the moment Rachel turned around, one of the wolves lunged. He was grey and shaggy, with dazed eyes. It clutched at Elias's arm. He recoiled, screaming in pain.
Elias!
The man hit the beast with the buttstock, twice, with a wheeze. The wolf backed away, howling. The others lurked. Elias was breathing hard. Blood ran down his arm, dripping onto the snow. He silently pulled out a knife, cut his sleeve, pulled a bandage from his bag, and dressed the wound.
Are you okay?
Not the first time.
He stood up, grabbed the rope, and pulled the sled again. They continued on their way, slowly, heavily, in silence. The wolves disappeared as silently as they had appeared. By evening, the wind had picked up. Snow swirled in the grey sky. Elias found a ledge of rock. Under it, the snow was less, and the wind was less stinging. They stopped there. He built a fire. The flames shook, barely holding. Rachel sat by the fire, cradling Jamie. The light from the fire flickered on her face.
Why are you helping me?
Elias didn't answer right away, stared into the fire, face frozen like stone.
I once failed a woman and her child.
Rachel, aloud, almost disbelieving. You didn't save her? He nodded.
That was my son. I was a soldier in a unit, far away. When I came back, it was too late.
Rachel, cautiously.
You couldn't control everything.
But maybe I can fix something now.
She looked at him for a long time. Then slowly she put her hand on his, dry, cracked from the frost.
Thank you.
He didn't answer, only squeezed her fingers a little. And on this night, amidst the snow and the cold, something common was born between two strangers. Something quiet, warmer than fire. Finally, they reached an abandoned farm cabin buried in snowdrifts. Behind its walls, there was some hope of warmth and protection.
Quickly under the floor.
What's going on?
3 men. Looters. They saw the smoke.
Elias knew, if they got caught, it was over. He hid Rachel and the baby under the floorboards. His heart was pounding, his breathing ragged.
I'll go out first. Ambush.
When the marauders entered, Elias was ready. He attacked first, in a swift and decisive movement.
Are you out of your mind?
Not today.
Set fire to the hut.
The fire flared up instantly, covering the dry boards and hides. Smoke billowed upward, acrid and hot.
Rachel, I'm coming.
Elias burst through the fire, wounded, blood oozing from his arm, but willpower drove him forward.
Hold on. I'll save you.
He pulled Rachel and the baby into his arms, ran across the fiery inferno. Behind them, the cabin was collapsing, the fire consuming everything.
Thank you, Elias.
We're still alive. We'll keep going.
In the night, amidst ash and cold, their fate was intertwined with hope, strong as steel despite the trials. Rachel slowly opened her eyes. Her body was softly pressed against the warm blanket, and the room smelled of pine smoke and fresh fabric. A soft light warmed her face, and somewhere nearby a baby was crying softly.
Jamie, are you okay?
She turned on her side and saw the infant curled up in a warm cloth, sleeping peacefully. Rachel smiled, feeling a sense of relief in her chest. There was a quiet knock on the door, and the pastor, a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a warm smile, entered the room.
You are awake. The boy is well. He slept soundly all night.
Where is that man? The one who helped us?
Pastor frowns, looking down at the floor.
No one has seen any man. Just you and the baby lying by the roadside. We found you there and brought you here.
Rachel took the baby's hand and pressed it against her, but her doubts never left her.
This was found near you. A cavalryman's duffel bag, labeled with the initials EK.
Rachel walked over to the bag, carefully opened it, and pulled out the items. Worn gloves, a folding knife, and a note covered with the marks of time. She glanced at the note, but the words seemed blurred, like a memory slipping away. Outside the window, the wind howled softly, snowflakes swirling in the air. In the last shots, the camera faded away, showing the silhouette of a man in a wolf's coat slowly moving away into the white, snowy distance. This is the end of the story. We have traveled together through cold, fear, struggle, and rescue. The main characters, Rachel, her son Jamie, and the mysterious Elias, have shown us that even in the harshest of conditions, light and hope can be found. If you like this story, be sure to put a like and write in the comments what you think about the characters and their fate. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel not to miss new exciting stories. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next videos.